How's it going, everybody? My name is Artorigold, and today I want to talk about some crazy new PTR things that are happening right now. I know last video I talked a lot about the buffs and nerfs on Bastion, McCree, Doomfist, but I left out a couple of key heroes. So, first off, we have Brig, who was nerfed, and then we have Torbjorn, who was actually buffed. So, both of these things are crazy. I'm going to get pretty in-depth into it. So, first up, I'm going to talk about Brig. Brig is extremely overpowered, and she is enabling so many crazy things right now. I mean, I think the whole community at this point is just screaming at the devs to nerf Brig. And finally, we were actually listened to, and they did it. They nerfed Brig. So the nerf is that they took Brig's shield bash and they made it so it can no longer travel or stun targets through barriers. This can apply through Winston Bubble, this goes through Orisa shield, but most importantly, and the biggest thing or easiest thing that this is going to affect is obviously Reinhardt. Reinhardt now has the ability to put up his shield and block the stun, meaning that there's a lot of potential for outplaying a Brig, which wasn't really ever possible. Brig is kind of this powerhouse of a character that does everything, and you can't really outskill her. I mean, everything that she does kind of has a low mechanical skill to it. Like, you compare what Brig does, compare it to maybe like a Widowmaker or maybe even the new character Ashe, that each have a very high skill ceiling and have ways that you can outplay the opponent through your own skill level. But with Brig, there really isn't that level to it. It's mostly maybe a mind game factor with your stun, but I mean, other than that, you just get in there and you hold down left click and you heal everybody around you, you do damage and just stun people. I mean, that's really all there is to it. So I think the nerf was much needed. However, I still don't think it's enough. I mean, everything Brig does is still really strong. I think it's gonna make Reinhardt players a lot happier. I mean, obviously Reinhardt's gonna be like, okay, I know this Brig is going to try and stun me, so instead of just sitting there and taking it, or maybe if I have a Zarya ask for a bubble, right, I can just go, alright, I'm gonna right click, bam, I blocked your stun. Now what are you gonna do? You're just sitting there, and I can hit you with Flame Strike or Fire Strike, whatever, and you can hammer her down, right? Like, that's what you can do now, and that's great for Reinhardt players. It allows you to punish a Brig who's going in for that stun. It doesn't really affect Winston or Orisa as much. It certainly affects it. I mean, the possibility is there, but it's a lot easier to play around the shields as a Brig player, especially if you're more aware of what the effect is. I mean, if you're completely unaware of the ability or how this interaction works, then yeah, you'll probably mess up, you'll hit the barrier, and then you won't stun the Winston inside the bubble. But I think it's pretty easy to try and go for it, because a Winston lightning gun damage pretty much puts zero pressure on a Brig if you're at full health, and if you're left clicking him, you can just kind of heal through all the damage, so it really doesn't matter or affect you. So yeah, it's definitely going to be more of a Reinhardt thing than any other character. Orisa barrier isn't a big deal either. You can just kind of walk behind the shield and then go stun her if you want to, but there's better targets to stun because she also has Fortify, which is a thing that pretty much makes the stun not even work in the first place, which is something that the other tanks don't have. So yeah, it's definitely more of a Reinhardt thing. But here's an issue with this, and I've seen this a lot on Twitter. A lot of people in general in the community, they feel a little bit differently about this change than I was initially expecting. Although people like the nerf on Brig, what a lot of people are complaining about is that the same effect, or the same interaction between barriers that Brig has on the PTR isn't consistent. And what they mean by that is that this is an amazing change for Brig, and Brig isn't able to stun or travel through the barriers with Shield Bash, but why can Doomfist do it with this rocket punch, right? It's not consistent across the board. It feels weird. Like, you have these characters that both have similar, you know, dashing forward abilities that stun people, and for some reason it doesn't work with Brig, but it does work with Doom. So a lot of people are complaining that this shouldn't work with Doom. Either have it affect everybody across the board to make it consistent, or don't make it affect it at all, is what some people want. Personally, I think it would feel a little clunky or weird to have that happen to Doomfist. I mean, it seems weird. It makes more sense for Brig because the travel distance with the shield bash is a lot smaller and rocket punch is a lot larger. I think something that they could do is maybe make the charge, how much you charge the rocket punch for, directly affect that. For example, if you just don't charge rocket punch at all, then maybe that can't go through barriers, but then if you fully charge it, it can, and I think that would feel a little bit better. It's still a little bit more inconsistent, and I think some people would just want it to not have it happen at all. But yeah, that's kind of an issue that a lot of people are talking about, and I'm kind of on the fence of it. Although I do hear what they are saying, I don't know, I think that might be a devastating nerf to Doomfist, but it's really not that big of a nerf to Brig. I think honestly, they need to nerf Brig more. I don't think this is gonna stop Brig from being an absolute unit who's able to stop just about anything, but really it's more just to buff the Reinhardt than anything. I think if anything, this doesn't affect Brig as much as people will probably think. It just affects Reinhardt. It's gonna make Reinhardt players happy. It's gonna give Reinhardt an opportunity to outplay a Brig, which, I mean, God, we need something like that. We need a way to be able to outplay Brig, because the way it is right now, you just have this absolute unit coming right at you, and she's just gonna melee, shield bash you, and kill you slowly over time while healing her entire team, and it seems like it's impossible to kill her. I mean, it's too much. It's too much. What they could do is they give her more mechanical skill. I think if you give more mechanical skill to Brig in general, it's gonna make her like more difficult to play and then more rewarding, and you're still able to accomplish the same things, but just limit the amount that she's able to do or make it harder to do what she's able to do right now. If that makes any sense, that's basically what I'm getting at anyways. So anyways, I want to move on to Torbjorn. So I think Torbjorn was already really successful with his rework. Basically with Torbjorn, he was pretty much a direct buff or upgrade in every sense. I mean, everything about his new kit was just unbelievably powerful, and I think he's in a pretty good spot right now, but the devs don't agree with that. Now, I don't know if maybe the stats that they have are different and they don't align, something's going on with that, but I think that Torbjorn's in a pretty decent spot right now. I mean, he's definitely a niche pick, but I don't think Torbjorn should be a must pick. Do we really want him to be a meta hero? Maybe. I could see it being kind of fun. I mean, Fooey would definitely have fun with that, but I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of other things that you could do with Torbjorn, but anyways, when it comes to the Torbjorn buff, let's talk about that first before I get into it. So, what they did with Torbjorn is they made it so the damage of his ultimate, the lava, was actually increased from 130 to 160 per second. They felt like molten core damage pools were just not doing enough damage. They thought people touched it for like a second and then basically moved out of it. And while I do agree with that statement, I don't know if that's necessarily a molten core issue. I feel like that's more of a Torbjorn player needs to learn the new ultimate issue. In other words, I think Torbjorn's still really too early. I think he's kind of really strong right now, but I think people are just not catching on, or the learning curve hasn't quite clicked yet, and people are still trying to get better and improve with Torbjorn, and they don't know exactly the best way to utilize him right now. I think the Molten Core does plenty of damage. I mean, I've seen situations where Torbjorn would use Molten Core on an entire enemy team who was stuck in a Graviton, and he would just put the lava pools all on top of them and around them, and everybody in the Graviton would literally just melt. I mean, the damage is insane. So seeing them buff that damage, I think it's interesting. I don't know what their goal is with that, because I think Torbjorn's really strong right now. I really don't think he needed this buff, but I fully welcome it. I mean, hey, if that's gonna make Torbjorn more playable, I guess that's kind of neat. It definitely makes the meta a bit different. I mean, I'm all for changing the meta up. I think that's a good thing, personally. I feel like the reason why he was buffed, though, might have been more a statistical thing. Like, there's not a lot of people picking Torbjorn, and we want more people to do so, and maybe that's what they're trying to go for. core, or maybe their intention was somewhere else, I'm not sure. But personally, I don't think the damage buff was needed. I thought Molten Core was crazy strong ability, and people just needed to learn to use the new Torbjorn. It hasn't really been out long enough for people to adjust or learn or to improve with it. I think the longer a game has been out, the longer a change has been out, more people adjust to it, people find things out. Take Doomfist, for example. When Doomfist first came out, he wasn't really quite a powerhouse. He was very fun, but he was very niche. He was very, not picked a whole lot. And nowadays, he's insane. Everybody plays him. Everybody picks him for obvious reasons. I mean, his damage output and skill ceiling and potential is just crazy. It's so high. It's there. And everybody just didn't see it at first. It was something that was kind of more hidden or asleep. And then people finally discovered how to use him properly thanks to some few dedicated hardcore one-trick players, I think. And then after that, it really blossomed and everybody started picking him and playing him. And I think that's what Torbjorn is at right now, if that makes any sense. I think people just haven't played him enough or discovered that potential. I do think it's there. I just don't think he's going to be as broken. I don't think he's going to be like completely overpowered, but he's definitely a straight buff and upgrade to his former self. So basically, that's all I have for today, guys. I made that 20-minute video and it really didn't include the Brig or the Torbjorn, and I'm sorry about that. I kind of included all those other things, and I went on for 20 minutes, and I was like, oh my god, this video is too long. I'll just make a part 2 to it. So anyways, I really wanted to cover those things. In summary, Brig nerf good. Torbjorn buff, was it needed? I don't know. But, I mean, it could be a lot of fun. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'll probably play some more Torbjorn. Why not? He's kind of fun, honestly. He might not be that great, and I might not be playing him on my main anytime soon. I'm not going to try to get top 500 with Torbjorn, but I do think he's going to be a lot of fun in quick play, or maybe in the custom games, or maybe even I'll throw him in scrims and see how he works on a team with a lot more coordination. Maybe his hidden power or talent is in there. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, that's all I have for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time.